Hey guys, welcome to YouTube chess channel Night Capturer. Today we'll be learning some basics about chess, and it's basically a two-player game with a white side and a black side. You are given 8 pawns to begin with, 4 minor pieces, that is 2 knights, 2 bishops, and 3 major pieces, which is rooks and 2 rooks and a queen. You also have a king, which is the most valuable piece. You have to capture the opponent's king in order to win the game, or your opponent has to resign and then you can win. There is another way to win, that is if you're playing a time controlled match, then if your opponent loses all the time, that is his clock hits 0, then he's going to lose the game and you obviously win. Is there a possibility of a draw? Absolutely there is. One of the possibilities is stalemate, where it's your turn to move or your opponent's turn to move, and even though you have pieces on the board, there are no possible squares any of those pieces could move to. So that's a stalemate. Another way to draw is if you agreed to a draw, both the players have agreed to a draw with the mutual understanding, and that is considered as a draw. If there is not enough material on the board, that is another way to draw a game, meaning if you have a king and a knight versus a king, which is not enough material to checkmate the white king or the black king, which means that it's a draw by insufficient material on the board. Another way to draw a game is if you have a threefold repetition, meaning if one of the players continuously keeps repeating the pieces, or both the players continuously keep repeating the pieces and their positions, then that's considered as a threefold repetition draw. Recently there has been a 50-move draw also. It's possible. Basically what the rule says is if there is no pawn move and or there have not been any captures in the last 50 moves, then you or your opponent can claim for a draw. Doesn't matter, both get equal points or 0 points. Speaking of points, different tournaments have different rules and regulations, different sets of their own policies, and all of this information is available online. If you're interested, whatever search engine you use, you can just Google chess and you'll get all the information. Coming back to the pieces that we have, each piece has been given a relative point system. So all the pawns are 1 point. Knight and bishop, which are the minor pieces, have 3 points. A rook has 5 points. Well, both the rooks make 10 points, and the knight has 9 or 10 points. Why the 9 or 10 points? It's mainly because if you capture 3 minor pieces for 1 queen, then she gets 9 points. But if you capture 2 rooks for a queen, then she gets 10 points. It's debatable, but end of the day it doesn't matter. If you're able to capture the opponent's king, that's all that matters, and you win the game. So now let's check out how these pawns and these knights and bishops and rooks move. Starting with the pawns, pawn from their starting position can move to 2 positions upwards, meaning if the pawns are starting on the 2nd rank, they can move to 3rd or 4th. Similarly, for black, pawns starting on the 7th rank can move to 6 or 5. But this move going from 2nd position to the 4th position can only happen from the 2nd rank. So, for example, if you try to first play say a3, and let's say black does the same. Now if you try to go 2 squares forward, it's not possible. It's not allowed in the game. That's basically how pawns move. And how do pawns capture? Pawns capture diagonally. Like look at these 2 pawns right here. They are in front of each other, but they cannot catch each other. But if I move my f pawn to f4, now black can capture the pawn here, and this only cross capturing is allowed. Let's go back. Let's see how a knight moves. If you want to move a knight from the starting position, it has a couple of moves. Knight is the only piece on the chessboard that can jump other pieces. So this knight from G1 here can go to F3, or it can go from G1 to H3. Right now I've moved it to F3. Similarly with this knight here can go either to F6 or to H6. Let's move it to F6. Now from here the knight from F3 can go back to G1, or it can occupy all of these positions. So that's how a knight moves. Similarly with the black, it can go to these particular positions. Now going back, let's see how the bishops move. Bishops obviously cannot jump over any of the pieces, and they only move diagonally. The light square bishop starting at F1 will only move on the light squares, and the dark square bishop starting at C1 will only move on the dark squares. At no point in the game are they allowed to exchange. Say for example, if I am it's black turn to move, so if I go to C4, and if I decide, I want to be a dark knight, dark bishop now, then you cannot do it. Even if you try, you won't be allowed to do it. That's basically how the bishops move. Let's go back. Now let's see how the queen moves. Queen can move in any direction, but it just cannot jump over other pawns. So right now you cannot make a queen move because it's blocked by all the friendly pawns. So first, if we make a move, and same if black makes a move, now the queen from D1 can occupy two spots, that is D2 and D3. If we move it to D3, let's say black does the same, it moves to D6. Now from here queen can occupy various positions. It can either go back, or it can occupy any of these spots. It can even take here on H7, or it can occupy any of these squares. That's basically how the queen moves. Let's go back. Let's see how the king moves now. King is allowed to move one square in any direction as long as that square is not occupied or attacked by your enemy piece. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Right now the king from E1 can move to E2. That's the only place allowed. And the king from the black king from E8 can move to E7. Now this king has three positions. The white king has three squares that it could move to. Let's say I move here and black does the same. Now my king can either go back to these two squares or can go to these two squares. This square he cannot go to because it has already been attacked by your enemy piece. And obviously he cannot go to these two squares because friendly pieces are already occupying those squares. Let's go back and see how the rook moves. Let's make a couple of moves here real quick. And now if you see here, rooks can move vertically or horizontally in any direction as long as they don't have any pieces blocking them. So right now this move can go from A1 to A2 or A3, and black's rook here can go from A8 to A7 or A6. From here the rook can move either in this direction or in this direction. Let's say we move it here and we do the same for black. Now it can go in this direction up until E7, or it can go either way. It can never go diagonally or can jump over any other pieces and try to capture. So that's basically how the pieces move. Now let's look at what castling is. So let's say we have a normal developing moves for both sides, and now we are ready to castle. Castling can be done for the safety of the king, meaning king and rook exchange their places in order to make the king feel more safe. So this is a king side castling, and we can do the same on the queen side as well. But you can castle as long as your castling squares are not attacked by your enemy piece. Now what do I mean by that? I'll have to go back a little bit to show it to you. So for example, if I play here, this is played, I play here. Now I am actually ready to castle, but I cannot castle because the castling square for the king, which is g1, this particular square is already been attacked by this nice bishop here. So no matter what I try to do, it won't allow me to castle. The king always moves 2 positions to its right or the left, and then the rook follows it. It's just immediately to the left or right of whatever positions you choose. So in the king side, the king will move 2 spots to the right, white king will move, and well, obviously it cannot now because we have a block. So I'll have to block it first, and once black makes a move, now I can castle. Look at this. It's pretty easy to castle for me, right? Because now this bishop is not attacking the square. That's basically what castling is. There is another thing called as Ampersand. Basically, Ampersand, what it really is, it prevents a pawn from using 2 squares to advance and pass an adjacent enemy pawn without risk of being captured. What does that mean? So I'm going to show it to you now. I've played my e pawn to e4. Let's say black does the same thing. Now I advance my e pawn even further. Now let's say that black wants to take his d pawn and push it to d5. But by doing so, what it's trying to negate is the pawn's attack for the square. Now see, this pawn actually is attacking d6 and it's attacking f6. But by playing this sneaky move, black wants to say, you cannot attack my pawn. But chess doesn't allow this. Chess rules say that if your opponent is trying to trick you, then on the immediate next move, you can capture this piece by playing Ampersand. But this is really important to know, it's only on the immediate next move. Say if you wait for another move, you play a waiting move, just like developing a bishop or something, and then black plays a move. Now you cannot capture Ampersand because you have already lost your opportunity to capture it Ampersand. That's basically what the rule is. And another thing that a lot of kids that I deal with who play chess have asked me is, how do you remember or how do you memorize these squares? So every chessboard has 64 squares, that is column A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So every square has a number. Like this particular square has a letter and a number associated with it. It is C4 because it is C column and 4th row. And similarly, if you take any row, it's going to be, this one is F6. So how do you memorize it? And when I'm still a beginner, and when I was learning this, it took me some time, but I found a nice technique that you guys could use. Basically, how you start with is, always remember bishop dons funny hat. Always remember this phrase, bishop dons funny hat. So that's B, D, F, H. For all these columns, the starting position is white, so the odd numbers will be white. So B, D, F, H odd equals light squares or white squares, whatever you want to call it. B, D, F, H. Bishop dons funny hat odd equals light. So that's how you have to remember. And every day what I used to do is, in the morning when I used to wake up, I used to repeat this: bishop dons funny hat, B, D, F, H, odd equals light, B, D, F, H, odd equals light. And from there I used to randomly put numbers on a piece of paper, the column numbers and the row numbers, say D5, D6, D7, E6, A1, and then I would try to see if it's a light square or a dark square. Eventually, at first you will have some difficulties, but eventually you will get used to it, and once you learn it, it's pretty good. Also, for beginners, I would recommend whenever you make a move, say it out loud if you're playing by yourself or practicing by yourself, and make sure you write it down, because say if you make the first pawn move to E4, and then your opponent makes the move E5, write it down. Whatever the move is, write it down. You might go wrong in the first few occasions, but as and how you keep practicing, you will be perfect. Let's go back. And I think we have covered almost everything that I wanted to cover in the video today. If you have, just like in any other video, questions, comments and concerns, if you have any, please let me know in the comment section below. If you have not seen my introduction video, please do so. I will put the link in the description here. That's all from me today, and namaste. See you soon.